People who lived through the 90s regret not having put together a cheap bag of .com domains that only a decade later would have made them millionaires. Today, a similar boom has started to take shape in Web3, the rise of the ENS domains. And although the frenzy has already begun, with many ENS domain sales reaching even the $100,000 range, we're still early and very far from reaching the saturation of .com domains, in which virtually every good name is taken. In ENS, many great domains can still be yours and for very cheap. This video is about all those untapped opportunities. Hello, I'm Matt Garcia and I write books and very long tweet threads about NFTs. As many of you already know, ENS domains are domains ending in .eth that can be used in the applications of the emerging Web3 as your personal identity, your crypto wallet, or even to host decentralized websites that cannot be censored. Also, unlike .com domains, .eth domains can be bought and sold as NFTs, and that makes them extremely easy to exchange on marketplaces, which has resulted in a growing speculative market with some people making a lot of money. In my previous video, link up here, I analyzed all those mega sales. That video was about pure data, with zero opinions and zero speculation. It was all about the past. Now, as I promised, here is the follow-up video about the future trends. Many of you have been asking me for ideas about what domains you can pick. Well, today we are gonna see 24 domain picking strategies that are currently overlooked by investors. To illustrate those 24 strategies, I will give specific examples of domains that I've picked myself. And I will also explain the rationale and the thought process that led me to make those picks. By the way, through this video I will keep referring to ENS domains because ENS domains are the blockchain domain project that really sells well right now. But these strategies could also apply to other blockchain domain projects like, for example, Handshake or Unstoppable, or even to traditional domain picking like .coms and .io. Also, for each strategy I've added a traffic lights icon to show how bullish or how cautious I am about them. Green for more bullish, amber for so-so, and red for least bullish. Okay, so let's dive right in. This video is sponsored by GoodNames. GoodNames offers premium ENS domains on OpenSea and soon on Coinbase NFT marketplace. Some names include pen.eth, which can be used by a digital signatures app in the future, and WLT, which is short for wallet, and it's perfect to be used for subdomains such as bob.wlt or nft.wlt, and some other cool names like the longest word in the dictionary. Check them out on the link in the description below or by typing the address you see on screen. Number 1. Numerics. Number domains are probably the most overlooked domain category right now, and as a result, one of the best investment opportunities. By number domains, I mean domains that are made up of pure digits and that are ideally 3 or 4 character long. Although some number domains of 5 or more digits could also have some value if they are iconic or possess rarities. But the best number domains are the 3-digit ones, because as you probably already know, shorter domains tend to be more valued by investors because they are rarer. Indeed, there are only 1,000 3-digit domains, and in NFT land, 1,000 is considered really rare. But if you want something even rarer, you can go for a number between the 000 and 100. Yes, it's absolutely crazy, but there are still a few numbers between 0 and 100 that haven't been taken. Actually, at the time of recording this, there are as many as 18. I'm very excited about this category. I really can't imagine any possible scenario in which, if ENS domains are still a thing in 5 years, then any of the only 1,000 existing 3 digits won't be very valuable. Number 2. Dates and other rarities. If you can't afford the registration cost of a 3-digit domain, you can still try your luck with a 4-digit. There are only 10,000 4-digit domains, which makes them relatively rare too, and comparable to most successful NFT collections that tend to be also capped at 10,000 units. However, to increase your odds of success, try to aim for 4-digit numbers that also have something special. One of those things is dates, with some historical or future significance. So any year number from 0 to 2100 with some significant event that happened or that will happen could potentially have more functional value or collectible value than just any random 4-digit. The other thing that can increase a numeric domain value a bit or sometimes a lot is rarities. These rarities are consecutive numbers, repeats, repeat consecutives, symmetries, presence of lucky numbers like 7 or 8, avoidance of the number 4 when possible, round numbers, and closeness to beginnings or ends. Number 3. Two-worders. Two-worders are so underrated. You know, we humans are copycat creatures by nature, and domain investors are, well, humans too. Investors have seen that single-word dictionary terms and single-word first names have sold for lots of money. So now everybody and their uncle is obsessed with getting even the lowest quality one-worders while leaving amazing two-worders on the table. Don't get me wrong, if you have the capital to acquire a good dictionary word like game.eth or invest.eth, please go for it. I'm sure you'll be able to resell it for a profit in the future, as long as ENS stays relevant in the future, of course. But if you can only afford registering new names, then you'll discover that 99% of good single-word domains are taken. So instead of registering obscure single words like meretricious.eth or solicitously.eth, you can try getting good two-worders instead, like for example spreadbetting.eth or artpatron.eth. This two-word strategy is particularly promising if you are willing to wait some time to get your returns. But if you need to make money right now and as fast as possible, then it's probably better to just stick to the beaten path and focus on dictionary words. In that case, you can jump to strategy number 22 in this video. But if you can buy and hold, then the good remaining two-worders have more upside than the mediocre remaining one-worders. And this segues perfectly into tip number 4. Number 4. Think decentralized websites. ENS domains are called domains and not names because, like .com domains, they can also be used to host actual websites. Fortunately for us early investors, the technology behind decentralized websites is still not polished and also not well supported by the major browsers. This is good because it gives us another great opportunity to think out of the box and buy website-friendly domains that are being ignored by the herd investors who are focusing only on domains that can be used to name wallets. One example, I recently got crypto pharmacy, Web3 pharmacy, and prescription drugs because they can be the Web3 equivalents of the online pharmacies that make so much money in Web2. What's more, the anonymity of Web3 and crypto transactions can make these future Web3 pharmacies even better suited to buying medical drugs online than the Web2 ones. So, when you're picking this type of domains, try to think of what types of websites could benefit the most from the features and the decentralization of Web3. Number 5. Don't neglect plurals. The plural form of words is frowned upon by many investors, and as a result, many plurals are still unregistered. This is a great opportunity because sometimes plurals are also valuable. Actually, sometimes plurals are even better than singulars. Some examples: shoes, sneakers, slots, decisions, supplements all sound better than their singular forms that sound a bit odd or incomplete. Other times both the singular and the plural sound good, but domain hunters, who often use automated lists that only contain the singular form, overlook them. For example, I recently found components.eth that could be good for some Web3 infrastructure company. I also registered cryptolawyers.eth, which I think is as good for a crypto law firm as its singular form is good for an individual law practitioner. Finally, there is a third group of terms in which the plural is not as good as the singular but is still valuable. For example, I recently registered talismans.eth. Talisman is clearly superior, but talismans could also be good for some kind of esoteric store, and as a result has a little value too. In fact, when you realize, as we saw in tip 4, that ENS are not just useful for wallet nicknames, but that also businesses and websites will be built around them, then you begin to appreciate the potential of plurals much more. Number 6. Track trends. If you are in domain investing, you will often hear the refrain, "Everything worth registering is already registered." Wrong. What they should say is, "Every famous dictionary word is already registered." But as anyone who has been in domain investing for a few years can tell you, every single day new valuable terms are created. Those terms come from emerging trends. For example, a few years ago, anyone who was reading about virtual worlds could have realized that the metaverse would become popular over time and registered that term. Well, today, metaverse is easily worth $1 million. The best way to stay aware of trends is to read the specialized press. YouTube and Twitter are great, but not for this. When a new term begins to buzz on Twitter and YouTube, it's often too late. So reading the crypto and financial news every morning is a good idea. For example, I recently discovered that nobody had registered tokenized art. As you can see on my video, the 13 types of NFTs, linked at the top of the screen, the tokenization of physical art is a promising but very nascent sector that, lucky for me, is still not well known. So betting on its future by registering tokenizedart.eth was a no-brainer. Remember, domains are the cheapest, most asymmetric way to bet on the technologies of the future. Number 7. Specialize. So tracking trends is a great strategy, but reading the press for every single topic is impossible, and the general press can have the same problem as YouTube and Twitter. When a term gets buzzy enough to appear in it, it's often too late. You run to the ENS search box to find out that the term is, of course, taken. So something that can really pay off is to specialize. But don't just specialize on anything. Try to pick a niche that 1. Interests you, so that you can sustain the effort, and 2. Is money making. For example, DeFi, video games, gambling, the Ethereum ecosystem, and things like that are gonna be more likely to create wealth for you than specializing in sectors like kite flying or porcelain dolls, no matter how much you love porcelain dolls. For example, I saw that many crypto gurus are specializing in video games and think that crypto video games could become the killer application for the entire crypto ecosystem. So I spent some time reading about games and crypto and found many relevant domains that are not necessarily liquid now, but that could become very valuable if crypto video games really become as important as people expect. Like GameBay and GameMart, that can be the name for marketplaces specializing in in-game assets, GameSkin and gaming skins that refer to one of the products most frequently sold in video games, skins, Play Wallet and Gamer Wallet, that could be perfect to launch a wallet specifically aimed at crypto gamers, Game Fund and Game Ventures and Game Capital, useful for new funds seeking to enter the gaming market, and of course crypto video games, video game NFTs and NFT video games. The more you specialize, the more you understand that industry and the best bets you can place on its future development. Number 8. Triples and quads. Triples and quads are domains made up of 3 or 4 letters. They are valuable for the same reason we saw in strategy number 1 with numbers, because there is a limited supply. For example, considering only the Latin alphabet, all the possible combinations of 3 letters are capped at 17,000. Since most NFT collections have 10,000 units, we can see how this is quite rare from a collectible point of view. Of course, out of those 17,000, now every word with an actual meaning, like as.eth or b.eth, is already taken. But people expect that at some point any 3-letter domain will be valuable, even those without a dictionary meaning, simply because of their scarcity or also for their meaning as acronyms. So, if you want to get exposure to the 3-letter category, a good idea is to try and aim for already existing acronyms. But remember, the more famous and the more connected to tech the acronym is, the less risky it is too. If the money for registering a 3-letter domain is too much for you, you can try your luck with quads. They are not as rare as triples, but still much rarer than longer domains. Also, unlike with 3-letter domains, there are still a few words that have meaning and that are not taken. For example, I registered phone.eth as it was at the same time good for having the built-in rarity of 4 letters and also has the advantage that it can be used as an alias. And I swear to you, even now, there are some 4 letters with a decent meaning that haven't yet been taken. Number 9. Brands and celebrities. Unlike with .com domains, in the .eth namespace, there are still tons of brands, companies, and celebrity names that haven't been registered. But is it legal for you to register them? Well, the situation now is a bit like the situation in the 90s. During the early days of .com domains, normal people register brands and, since the legal system is always a few steps behind, they still could get away with it, and most brands preferred to pay than to go to court. Actually, even today a brand would probably prefer to pay than to go to court as long as the price is reasonable. By the way, we need to talk about squatters. There's been a lot of complaints in the ENS community about people squatting names or brands and celebrities because they say that they damage the project by preventing those people, those brands, those celebrities from getting their own names. And I can have sympathy for these ideas because I know where they come from. They come from a lot of love for the ENS project. People like Nick or like Brantley, when he was still around, have put in so much effort to bring the ENS project about that now look in horror at anything that could harm the project. But I think those fears are misdirected, because squatters, or at least professional squatters, are the healthiest thing that can happen to the ENS ecosystem. Let me explain. The creators of ENS decided to make it a completely decentralized free market in which anybody could register any domain without any supervising authority. This was a great idea because free markets are a central ingredient of the libertarian and unsupervised needs that led to inventing crypto and Web3 in the first place. But one unavoidable characteristic of free markets is that in them, any item with perceived value will always be acquired by some of the market participants. This is not optional, this is an inevitable feature of any free market, and will always happen in any namespace that relies on a free market. You just can't wish squatters away. So the question is not if we should or shouldn't have people buying domains that are brands or celebrity names. There's no possible scenario in which every participant of a free market will voluntarily abstain themselves from acquiring valuable names like Amazon.eth or Elon Musk.eth. Valuable names will always be bought up as soon as there are enough participants in that free market. And by pure probability, in the majority of cases, they will be acquired before that brand or celebrity even hears of the existence of ENS. So once we understand the fact that in free market namespaces, good domains will always be squatted, we can move on to focus on what type of squatting is healthier. And the healthier squatting is that made by professional investors, as opposed to that of casual investors. Professional investors are far likelier to price realistically, to be reachable, and to not forget that they own those domains. And if they reach out to brands or celebrities to try to sell the domain, they are also far likelier than casual investors to make that contact attempt in a professional and polite manner. In summary, professional ENS investors are more conducive to the squatted domain ending up in the hands of the namesake celebrity or namesake brand. So if we want a healthy namespace, we don't need less squatters. That's impossible. In any free market, all good names will be squatted. What we need is for our squatters to be as professionalized as possible. For a healthy ENS ecosystem, we need as many professional ENS investors as possible. So if you decide to invest in brand, company, or celebrity names, then you probably should. Do it in a white hat kind of way, in which you seek a win-win situation that makes the free market ecosystem of ENS even more efficient. Be ready to wait as many people and brands still haven't heard about .eth domains. Crypto brands, tech brands, financial brands, and hype celebrities like rappers and influencers are the most likely to get to hear about ENS sooner. If you decide to reach out to the brand or celebrity, be extremely professional and polite because to many, this type of reaching out could feel like blackmailing. Also, if you decide to reach out, never insist if the other party says they are not interested for now. And please, set a price that will look very reasonable to that celebrity or brand without feeling like an extortionary price. Number 10. OG domains. OG domains are historic domains. In the world of NFTs, and remember that ENS domains are also NFTs, historic assets are generally considered to be those created before CryptoPunks. Investors consider these OG tokens as having some extra value, so in principle this should also apply to these domain NFTs. However, please note that I've given this category a red traffic lights, that is, high risk, because there still haven't been any big sales of a historic domain that was bought just because of its antiquity. So buying historic domains is a bet on an investment thesis that perhaps will never materialize. The best source of information listing the pre-punked domains is this list by Makoto. I've personally registered 3 domains by using this list. I found that the first 100 domains were all taken, so I got a couple of below 150 domains. And since people tend to love milestones and round numbers, I also got domain number 1000. If you are going to get exposure to this category, I would go for either the oldest domains still available or for domains that, on top of being pre-punks, have also a cool meaning, like for example preserved.eth. Number 11. Nominalize. Some of the most popular ENS domains right now are the domains that can be used as nicknames. Anything from Goku to Hacker, Whale, and so on. The problem is that, due to their success, almost any decent noun under the sun is already taken. But if you want to get exposure to this category, you can still try to look for words that are not nouns but that can be used as nicknames. For example, adjectives that can be used as a nickname. Chirpy, cheaper, smarter. Nominalization of verbs, like for example, excluder is a nominalization of the verb to exclude. But excluder is a bit lame. Try to find verb nominalizations that have either a cool factor or that are related to crypto and tech culture. Like for example, Decentralized. Are nominalizations going to make you rich? Hardly. But I've given this category a green light because unless you are a terrible name picker, in the worst case scenario you will be able to at least recoup your investment by selling them at near registration price. If ENS stays relevant, the scarcity of words in its namespace that can be used as a nickname will be greater every passing month, and the decent nicknameables will be quite liquid at registration price. Number 12. The D+. This strategy is to simply add the to any cool word. If ENS continues being important in the future, then in a year or so when every name under the sun is taken, even the D+ will be scarce. Actually, even today I have already noticed a dramatic decrease in the availability of D+ in the past couple of months. So for instance, adding D to good nicknames that have already been registered can be a way to create new nicknames that in a few months or years might be valuable. For example, I've registered the Frog because it can be used as a nickname. It's short, it's very related to meme culture and to one of the most beloved NFT collections, Pepe the Frog and the Rare Pepes. But it doesn't need to be nicknames. Something like the Protocol could easily become a crypto brand. Another good D+ is things that are frequently said with the in everyday conversation, like the White House. We are so used to say the White House that somebody purchased the whitehouse.eth for a crazy 27 Ethereum. So I registered the Capitol, which is also said with the, to try and jump on that bandwagon. It's not that White House and Capitol are not amazing domains, but the D+ versions in these two cases sound also good. But if you want to get exposure to this category, please don't just register anything with a D on the front. Try to develop an ear for what really sounds hot. For example, the Eiffel Tower or the British Museum surely are said all the time with a D on the front, but don't you think that they sound a bit weak as a domain? On the other hand, sometimes it does work. For example, Oscars. It's clearly a valuable domain. But doesn't the Oscars also sound kinda hot? So, when picking domain names, don't be self-indulgent. Try to listen to your inner whisper of wisdom and never swat it away. Number 13. Foreigns. In .com domains, and probably in .eth domains as well, the dominant language and the language that commands the highest prices will be English for the foreseeable future. But that doesn't mean that important words won't sell well in any other language. In the .com world, the equivalents of car insurance, real estate or marketplace sell well in any of the world's important languages. Same with .eth. I wouldn't recommend you to run to register just any domain in a foreign language, but if you happen to master a foreign language, it could pay off that you register some of the essential words. For example, I'm Spanish, so I registered Collectionize.eth, which is the equivalent of collectibles.eth, because collectibles are essential in NFT culture, so even in Spanish, it will have value if ENS continues to be relevant. Another option is to register foreign terms that are very important in that particular culture. For example, I saw that Insha'Allah, if God wills in Arabic, sold for 7 Ethereum. So that gave me the idea of registering a dozen of the most important words in Arabic culture and make a bundle. But priced proportionally. For example, if collectibles in English could probably get 10 Ethereum, I've priced the Spanish version at just 1. Don't be greedy and prepare to be very patient until that foreign buyer appears. Number 14. Collectionize. As of today, this strategy is completely unproven, so I'm giving it a red light. The logic for putting together collections of similar domains is as follows. If you have one individual domain about a subject, for example gameventures.eth, maybe you can end up selling it if you are as lucky as to find the perfect buyer who really wants to create an investment fund about video games and that also happens to like Game Ventures as their company name. But it's going to take a long time to be found by that ideal buyer. But if you have 20 related video game names, it is easier that a person working in that industry finds you, because there are 20 opportunities for them to stumble upon you and not just one. If on top of that they see that for a reasonable price they can get all 20 domains, then it can be tempting for them to get that entire bundle because it gives them instant power and influence in their industry. Having a big footprint in an industry's namespace is a form of power. So, even if this strategy is yet unproven, I have created 4 collections to test it. A crypto gaming collection of 21 names, a wearable NFTs collection of 18, a rare Pepe's collection of 27, and an Islamic culture collection of 17. If you are curious as to how I've priced, you can take a look at them on my website. If you are going to follow this strategy, prepare to wait quite a bit because we're still very early. And also offer a gigantic discount for buying the entire theme bundle. Nobody's going to buy 20 domains unless they get a huge discount for it. Number 15. Subdomains. Many investors are super excited about this category, so although it's still very unproven, I really need to mention it. As you know, ENS domains are bought and sold in the form of NFTs. Well, as it happens, even subdomains can be resold as independent NFTs, while you keep the ownership of the root domain. So imagine that you are as fortunate as to own wallet.eth. Wallet is one of the most valuable domains because one of the main use cases of ENS domains is to use them to name your crypto wallets. So imagine that someone's name is Robert Smith and that they want to get an ENS domain to name their wallet. Since wallet.eth is already taken, and robert.eth is also taken, and rob.eth is taken, and even Robert Smith is taken, maybe that Robert could be interested in buying the subdomain robert.wallet.eth. Another example is surnames. Many investors are bullish on surnames because they hope that in the future they will be able to sell many subdomains to people who are called like that. So in our example, Robert Smith may be interested in buying the subdomain robert.smith.eth from the owner of smith.eth. If you are going to bet on the future of subdomains, then try to register either surnames or terms that could be resold to many different users. I haven't yet invested in this category myself, but good examples are things like myvault.eth, messageme.eth, and address.eth. Number 16. Emojis and other graphicals. People tend to either love or hate emoji domains, or emojis as some people call them. On the hate side, investors say that although there's been lots of big sales of emoji domains, most of them were from one emoji collector to another emoji collector, and so they accuse emojis of being a self-inflated bubble. On the love side, investors say that the same applies to any other NFT category, where a reduced number of whales usually account for most of the big purchases, and that this also even applies to other realms of physical and digital collectibles. For example, most of the fine art sales in the world are made between a small pool of rich collectors. If you decide to go on the lover camp, the most valuable emoji domains are those called pure triples and pure quads. domains in which the same emoji appears repeated 3 or 4 times. But virtually all those are now taken. So if you want to get exposure to this category and don't have money to get one on the aftermarket, you can use strategies like getting non-pure emoji combos with an iconic meaning, like this one for Bored Ape Yacht Club, getting hybrids with an iconic meaning, for example, that shit, I heart you, or even getting other graphicals like Greek letters and Egyptian hieroglyphs. For example, I got the triple god cake because cake is very big in meme culture and also at the same time quintessentially Egyptian. But please proceed with caution because as of today, Egyptian hieroglyphs are not compatible with OpenSea. Number 17. Curios. By curios, I mean anything that is worth collecting beyond their immediate meaning. ENS domains are at the same time a functional token that has real utility, logging into apps, naming wallets, hosting websites, and also a collectible token, an NFT. As NFTs, they can be very easily collected and exchanged with other collectors. And humans will be humans, and anything that can be collected, we humans will end up collecting. So stretch your imagination and try to think of curious things that at some point could catch the eye of a collector. There are so many characters and graphics in the Unicode libraries that you can find things nobody has thought of before. Apart from obvious collectible categories like the ones we've mentioned already, numbers, emojis, OG domains, try to think of anything worth collecting that you can make up with Unicode characters. One example, a friend told me that you can use upside down text in Unicode, so I went and registered the most iconic upside down name that I could think of. Yes, you guessed it, upsidedown.eth. And like this, there are many hidden curios wanting to be discovered. However, as you can see, I've given this category a red light because it's very difficult to know if what you consider worth collecting, other people will too. So if you want to venture into this niche, try to listen to the inner whisper and not be self-indulgent, and only register things that you strongly feel are special and rare, and to which not even the pesky inner whisper can object anything. Number 18. Copycatting. When a domain sells for a very high price, it's not a crazy idea to try and register similar things. For example, when Zuckerberg announced Meta, instantly Meta and Metaverse became hyper, ultra, super premium domains and began to receive high bids. So many domain investors started to register variations of them. And interestingly enough, more than half a dozen of these variations have made it to the top sales list of 1 Ethereum Plus. I personally sold Meta sneakers for 1 Ethereum, and uncountable variations priced below 1 Ethereum have sold too. But please, as always, proceed with caution, because the copycat strategy doesn't always work. For example, as I said before, I bought the Capitol because the White House had sold for 27 Ethereum. And since the Capitol is iconic but not as iconic as the White House, I decided to offer it for 5 Ethereum, thinking that at least I would get some bids. And yet all I got was, well, crickets. So don't get too excited when copycatting. Domain sales are at least in part unpredictable. Number 19. DNS. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and it is the acronym that people use to refer to the world of traditional domains like .com, .net, .io, etc. So another variation of the copycat strategy is to look at DNS for inspiration of what could sell on ENS. It's funny how little attention domain investors in the new ENS world pay to the DNS world, and vice versa, how the DNS world OG domainers almost completely ignore ENS domains. But if you keep an eye on the two worlds, you can have a good competitive advantage. The 3 best resources to track the DNS world are NameBio, which is an amazing database with the majority of past sales, DN Journal for market news and also for the most recent sales, and NamePros, which is the forum where the traditional domainers hang out. However, don't assume that something that sold for $200,000 in the DNS world is necessarily going to sell for that amount or even sell at all in ENS. As always, try to consider as many factors as possible before clicking on that register button. Another interesting use of DNS is to create DNS-ENS combo packages. Many Web3 businesses like to launch their website with the traditional DNS extension .io because .io is associated with edgy technology. So if you find something really business worthy and you want to create a package, you can register both the DNS and the ENS. For example, I register ensbay.eth and ensmarketplace.eth, and I'm selling them bundled together with ensbay.io and ensmarketplace.io. Number 20. Brandables. Speaking of getting inspiration from DNS, there is actually an entire subcategory in DNS that is called Brandables. Brandables are made-up words that are, however, very conducive to being used as a brand or company name. Brandables are so strong in the traditional domain name industry that entire brokerages such as brandbucket.com are devoted to sell just brandables. The ENS market is probably too young for brandables to sell well right now, but if ENS keeps gaining traction, sooner or later the namespace will be so taken that many new companies will turn to brandables when they need a name. If you love risk and you want to register brandables, try to go for made-up words that are short, easy on the eye, easy on the tongue, easy to spell, new takes on already famous brands, and also try to visualize types of imaginary companies that could use them. For example, I registered Metapal because if metaverses are still a thing in a few years, Metapal could be a great name for a wallet company or any other thing that you can use in the metaverse to keep your money, your gear, etc. Or I've registered Game Gain because so many businesses are going to revolve around play-to-earn video games, and because alliteration, the repetition of a sound, is always a nice thing to have in a brand name. Geographicals. Another strategy inspired by DNS, getting city names. All the countries are taken, but there are so many cities left. In traditional .com domains, even the most obscure small towns have been taken for ages, but in ENS, even some cities of 200,000 people and more are not taken yet. The reason is that so far very few big sales of toponyms have made the best-selling list, and so the herd's attention is not yet on registering Geographicals. I'm still not as bullish on Geographicals as I am on numbers because we still don't know how important physical places are going to be for the Web3 ecosystem, with all that emphasis on decentralization and delocalization. But considering how successful Geographicals are in the .com space, I think that getting some portfolio exposure to them in ENS is probably not a bad idea. But if you decide to invest in Geographicals, prepare to hodl, because their market is definitely not hot yet. Scalping Obscures. Single dictionary words are all the rage right now, and as a result, most of them are registered. That's why it's probably the time to jump onto other bandwagons that are less exploited and that have more potential upside. But if, nevertheless, you still want to jump on the dictionary word bandwagon, you can go for a scalping style strategy, in which you register lots of second-rate dictionary words, what I call obscures, and resell them for a small profit margin. After all, in any business realm, oftentimes fortunes are made out of many small sales, rather than a few big ones. This strategy can work if you sell for cheap enough so that you can keep rinsing and repeating all the time. But don't just register any obscure word simply because it appears in the dictionary. Try to aim for the best obscures. For example, adjectives that, although unusual, are at least positive like virginal or amiable. Words that can be used as a username like personage. Words that are a bit evocative or even brandable like bygone or epiphanic. Ink forms of verbs that are relevant to crypto or NFTs like auctioning or bartering. Professions that, even if rare, will be at least very appreciated by a few individuals with that job, like dramatist or playwright. Or go for neo words that, even if they are not in most dictionaries, can be quite relevant in pop culture like Kingster or Frenemy. Think future. This strategy overarches many of the previous ones, but I really want to stress it because future mindset is possibly, together with an ironclad patience, one of the most essential skills for a successful domainer, both in traditional domaining as well as in Web3 domains. Most folks tend to project what is happening right now into the future. That's why most investors get wrecked, If we enter a crisis, we'll be in a crisis forever, so they sell bottoms. If we are in euphoria times, the future will always be bright, so they buy at the tops. And they apply the same mindset to collectibles. They don't try to think of things that could trend in the future. They just focus on what's trending right now. If nobody buys numbers or geographicals, they won't either, and instead will buy whatever is trending, often at inflated prices, without registering cheap things because nobody's paying attention to those, right? By any means, if you can afford buying first names like Jake.eth or dictionary words like gold.eth, do it. If ENS continues to be relevant in the future, chances are you can make even more money than the small fortune that these names cost now. But if, on top of following established trends, you can also think out of the box and spot trends before other people, then you'll have a competitive advantage. For example, I got hardwarewallets.eth, which according to current trends is a bad domain for many reasons. It's not one word, it's too long at 15 characters, it can be used as a nickname, and it's plural. Why did I register it then? Well, because I built my own small theory of the future. I thought that Web3 websites may become an important thing in the near future, and in that case the most important websites of Web3 will be the websites that revolve around Web3 stuff. And one of the most important products in Web3 are precisely hardware wallets. So in that sense, hardwarewallets.eth is very much the Web3 equivalent to what vacationrentals.com or carinsurance.com represented for Web2. Is it sure that I will be able to sell hardwarewallets.eth for a lot of money? Not at all, but the opportunity cost of a $30 registration versus that future potential was gigantic. Number 24 and final, Liquidate. One idea that I think nobody has executed yet, but that could be successful at some point, is to sell all your domains in bulk. This is compatible with your individual sales. In addition to having your domains listed individually, you can also say at the top of your OpenSea profile or on your Twitter that your entire collection is for sale at X price. The rationale for this is that some whale that wants to get started quickly on ENS, or some existing domain whale that wants to grow their footprint quickly, may be interested in buying your entire collection. There's a catch though, you need to offer it at a super discounted price. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to buy all your 20 or 50 or 100 domains. Especially because many domains that you think have potential, that buyer may not. So you really need a big discount so that the good domains you own make up for the bad ones. For example, I'm always selling my entire portfolio. At the time of recording this, the portfolio is made up of 168 domains with a bulk price of 15 Ethereum. If I sold them individually, at the price that I've listed them, I would be losing more than 10 times that money. Why offer them at that price losing all that potential money? The key is precisely that word, potential. Who knows if I have overpriced my domains and they will never sell at the prices I said? Or how long they will take selling anyway? So the opportunity cost of having 15 Ethereum now that you can reinvest in ENS or in other ventures is often greater than waiting for the individual sales. If you think you are a good investor, 15 Ethereum now can be much better than 150 Ethereum in 5 years. Also, if you have a good eye for spotting trends, you can rebuild a domain collection with part of that money. Remember the old mantra, rinse and repeat. So that's it. That's all for today. I hope you got some useful ideas out of this video, and also you will have noticed that most of the traffic lights were either amber or red. I set them like that because I wanted to stress one very important thing that I don't want you to overlook. All this was very speculative. This video was very speculative, and domain investing as a whole is very speculative because you never have any guarantee that a domain that you registered you will sell. So never invest more money than the money you can afford to lose. It's a cliche, but it's totally true. Never use your pay the rent or put food on your table money for investing, okay? Also remember that this video was about things that may sell well in the future. If you want to know what is selling well right now, you can check my previous video. Or for an even more up-to-date version of it, look at the thread that I've pinned to my Twitter timeline. Anyway, thank you so much for having put up with this crazy humongous video, and please subscribe if you want more crazy humongous videos. Also, let me know down here what other topics you want me to cover next. You prefer more ENS domain related videos, or you want entirely new topics like metaverses, video games, virtual lands? Okay, thanks again and see you soon.